thank you everybody for tuning into this podcast. Today we are going to talk about recruiting. So we've got Trooper Austin Brown, Trooper Keaton Davis, both with our recruiting division, to talk about specifically recruiting, kind of what it means to be a trooper and what the process is and maybe what academy life looks like. And we really hope to touch on a lot without taking up too much of your time. So appreciate you guys being here. Let's get started. Austin, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I graduated the 63rd Academy, which was in 2015. And on the 28th, I'll hit my 11th year.
Okay. What has your career looked like in 11 years or 10 years that you've got?
Oh, man, I've kind of bounced around a lot, which has actually been kind of fun and exciting because you get to see different, aspects of the patrol. I started out in a rural assignment in Nowata County, up north of Tulsa. I served there for about a year. And then I transferred into the Will Rogers Turnpike. So I was on a turnpike for approximately 5 years out there, which is I-44 that runs from Tulsa to essentially Joplin, Missouri. So I got to run that live for a little while, get to understand the turnpike situations and call volume. And then after that, I went back to a rural community in Wagner, Oklahoma. So I was over there for a few years as well until I transitioned into the recruiting division.
Okay. As a trooper, as a road trooper, everybody kind of has their thing they like to get involved in. What's your thing?
Man, I kind of have a lot of hats that I like to wear. I'm an LEDT instructor, a firearms instructor. I've also been to the crisis negotiation training that the FBI hosted for us. And then I started off on the emergency response team, served, I think, 3 years on the emergency response team, and then I just recently got on our tactical team.
Okay, that's a big accomplishment to get on the tactical team. It's not easy. It's a tough road. Tell us about kind of getting on the TAC team and what it took.
Absolutely. The tryouts are definitely grueling. They kind of changed it up from years past. So it was more than just one day. It was a multiple day tryout. But the biggest thing that I focused on the most was my physical fitness, and I thankfully I performed really well this year. So they put you through multiple workouts. It's not just one workout. They want to see the totality of the trooper that they're looking at and looking to select. And then, of course, they also do other things like firearms instruction and stuff like that, put you through some drills and tests, see where you're at with that. And then they teach a few tactics classes to kind of see what kind of learner you are, what you're picking up on, what you can retain, and then how you can apply it later on at like a little mock situation that they'll put on.
Awesome. It's strenuous for a reason.
So sure.
Keaton, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so Keaton Davis, I'm out of the 66 Academy, which was in 2020, a COVID school, which it definitely was a weird time in the world during COVID. But after assignment, I went to Troop A. So I worked Troop A Metro for close to 4 years, and then how long we've been? Well, 5 years, I guess. We've been on recruiting for a little over a year, so almost 2 years.
It's gonna hit 2 years. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I guess 4 years in Troop A Metro, which learned a ton there. Prior to OHP, though, I was also a municipal police officer for another agency since 2017, so total about 9 years in law enforcement. February 2028, or February the 28th, I'll be coming up on my 6 years here with OHP, which is great. Done a few different things. So Troop A Metro was kind of my primary assignment. Loved it. I worked swing shifts, so for the majority of my Metro times, I was tons of crashes. I mean, you're getting to experience a lot of stuff. You're getting a mix between a day shift, and then also you're getting into hoot shift as well, basically, because you're in a lot of the activity from the night. And then I went to days a little bit before I came over to recruiting, so pretty good experience. Experienced a ton in Troop A. And then been on ERT for 3 years. Recently just got off, and academies, that's one of my passions. So I've taught majority of the academy since the 71st, either in one discipline. Most of the time it's been some type of staff like TAC or DT instructor, and just really love training and mentoring people. It's kind of one of my passions and one of the things I really enjoy doing.
So I always like to ask us, because we bring in people from all walks of life into the patrol. I know you said you were a police officer. What did you do before you got on patrol?
So I'd spent 10 years active duty Marine before I came over to patrol.
Okay.
That's where I was at.
Where were you a police officer at, Keaton?
Chickasha.
How do you compare being a trooper to being a police officer?
For me, the freedom aspect and also the culture is different. So the culture here in OHP is since 1937. I mean, it has been a culture that is, in my opinion, one of the best agencies in in the United States. So you have a lot of training that we get to do. The experiences that you don't just work in one specific area and being on different types of teams like ERT or whatever it may be. You get to travel all over the state and do different things. So just that aspect is night and day difference from a PD, because you're stuck in one little area. You're dealing with the same people over and over again. And with the troop, I mean, you can kind of go everywhere. And if you want to, get into a different role or go to a different county assignment, it's absolutely an option.
And you're also following in the steps of your grandfather, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I've been kind of blessed to have actually two grandparents. So my mom's dad, who was Bob Shaw, he was actually assistant chief for quite a while. It's been I believe he got on in 1967 in the 19th Academy, and my other grandpa or stepdad was Bill Robbins, which actually is the badge number that I have, one of his first badge numbers. So 508 was, when I saw that in the academy, when I was looking at the history of the badge, it kind of set home. I didn't know, in the academy that this little piece of paper that was clipped to my uniform, really what that meant. And once I was able to look at the history of the badge and sitting there in that chair down in the classroom, I'll never forget it, seeing his name in that 508 was just a big shock. And, it kind of brought tears to my eyes, and that meaning, and definitely resonated more with that badge number being seen, just like it is now. I mean, every day you got to earn it, but having the history and the culture from my grandparents and understanding that, knowing it, and kind of seeing that growing up was pretty influential.
Yeah, you'd mentioned this before we started talking on this podcast, that badge numbers become personal, and it's, the guy behind the name behind the badge number and what that means to build that up. So only two people have had my badge number. I'm actually the second. Tom Thomas had it before me, and I'm the second person. I take that back. My old badge number, 669. I'm not sure about the 81 badge number.
Right.
Still looking into all that. But yeah, it does. It's kind of personal how that happens. How did the Marine Corps prepare you to get your badge?
Thankfully, the academy, especially the time frame that I went through, is definitely structured very similar, talking in the third person, have to be in a specific stance when you're talking to, somebody that's senior to you. A lot of that kind of stuff definitely helped me. And I think definitely on the mental aspect side of it, like you're used to being held to a standard. If you mess up or deviate from the standard, they're going to get on to you, right? There's going to be some sort of a punishment. But to know that it's not personal, you know what I mean? Like they're not upset with me, Austin Brown. They're just putting me through the process.
Trust in the process. Yeah, they're building you from something. Yeah, absolutely. Now, we get often guys that don't have Marine Corps experience. They don't have prior law enforcement experience. They may be an electrical guy. They may be a plumber or something. How did all those experiences help build people into the trooper that they are? Kind of what are we looking for somebody that wants to become a trooper?
For me, work ethic. I mean, the academy is a place that we really start seeing that. And if they don't have it when they first show up, they're going to have it by the time they leave. And that's what the academy's for. We're going to prepare them. But their job experience and their life experience is something that is definitely going to be influential in this career. Not only that, in the academy life. We got guys that, like you said, don't have military experience, and we have guys that have military experience. I've seen up there, being a part of multiple academies, that some of these guys that are, an electrician or, a mechanic, they outwork some of these military guys. So it kind of just depends on their mindset and their drive and what this actually career is going to mean for them. Is it just another, check on the box, or is this something they're going to have a passion for and build that culture around, or that lifestyle around? So it definitely depending on their job. I mean, we look for people that are experienced, that have, a goal, of becoming a trooper. That's the main thing that we're looking for, not just another job. It needs to be that you're passionate about this and you want to pursue this as a career, not just a job, if that makes sense. But I think the mindset that we've gotten recently and applicants has been pretty good.
Yeah. One thing that I definitely like to look for, or at least I love it when I see it, is guys that think outside of the box, right? So it's definitely helpful that we don't have everybody thinking the same way, right? If it was just all military guys, we'd have one, mindset and that's it. But it's really nice when we get to that melting pot of different thoughts, people that think about things, they problem solve differently, right? I think that's very helpful. And then in this line of career, people probably don't really consider a lot, but like he's talking about, the mindset this is a thinking man's game. And sometimes we literally do have to make a life decision in a split second, right? Whether it's to save ours or somebody else's. So if you can't be a thinking man or woman, like that's going to be issues and to give you problems. But also, you can still use whatever career field they're in. If they're, if they work at Walmart or Quick Trip or whatever the case may be, you can still see in their performance there if they are a top performer, if they're squared away, if they're sloppy or lazy or anything like that. So it's still very telling of what kind of character they have.
Yeah. So one of the questions I want to ask you is, we hear this a lot, like, man, that kid's a real trooper. What does it mean to you guys who are actual troopers to be a trooper?
Oh man, for me, I think part of it is one, the legacy that you are going to want to buy into, right? So whenever I was in elementary school, there was a trooper in my hometown that had a son that was a few years older than me. We weren't like friends or, didn't have classes or anything like that together, but I would see him drop his kid off at school or come to his games, things of that nature. And just the way he carried himself, I really admired, and I like that kind of view and that attention to detail that you would have to your uniform. His unit was always shiny and just very professional. And there's a standard, and I like to adhere to that standard as well.
Absolutely. You got an answer to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that Austin just said, that professional, that person that you can look to, that's going to get the job done, that's going to show up on time, that's going to be, able to take charge and be a leader and a mentor for me. And, it's having the family members that have been in law enforcement and having, especially in patrol, that's some people that I looked up to. And, it's when you hear those names, the Reggie Cowlins, the Brian Costanzas, the Brett Stevens, the Nathan Mills, like you hear those names and it resonates. And you really got to earn that. And if you have this uniform and you're a trooper, you have to earn it every single day. So that's something that I really feel like most troopers do. I mean, they're out there working. They're out there, no matter what. If it's about to be a snowstorm, an ice storm, they're out there working. They're out there doing what they're supposed to do to make this state of Oklahoma and the citizens safer. So really just the privilege to get to wear this uniform, following in my grandparents' footsteps. I really want to make my name and my badge number mean something as well too. This uniform.
Yeah, we're going to go through a winter storm, and there are guys that are probably going to get their days off canceled. But it doesn't affect troopers. We know that that's a possibility. Guys go to work. They're ready to help Oklahomans. They're ready to serve. We attract guys that want to help other people. So getting your days off canceled and having to go out and work in a snowstorm, honestly, that attracts a lot of guys to be able to be that guy that gets to go out and help that person that's in need. All right, so moving on to the academy. We are currently hiring for the 75th Oklahoma Highway Patrol Academy.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that. That's an exciting time. I know we're getting ready to do a big recruiting push. We're hoping to have 3 schools back to back to back. We've never done something like that before in the history of the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. This will be a first time for us. Going into the 75th, what are the qualifications necessary for somebody who may be interested in becoming a trooper?
Well, so the 75th is the one that we just finished the application process. The 76th will be the one.
You're right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
They come up so fast,
They
it's hard
do.
to keep track of them.
They do. They just fly by. Yeah, the 76 is the one we're hiring for. 75th is the one we're getting ready to start. I clump all these together as a series of 3 we're getting ready to start.
If you want to answer that, Keaton.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What was the question again? Sorry.
Just like the bare minimum requirements. So, 23, at least a minimum of 23 college credits to apply. But once you graduate, you at least have to have, I think it's 62 or an associate's, which we have an MOU with memorandum of understanding with Oklahoma State University through Oklahoma City. So that's one thing that if you apply with at least 23 college credits, graduate the academy, they will essentially let you transfer over and give you the rest for an associate's when you graduate. So you could potentially graduate our academy as a state trooper and with your associate's degree in, I think it's criminal science.
Police science.
Police science? Okay.
What are the exemptions to those college hours?
So either prior law enforcement experience, so if you had 3 years of consecutive law enforcement experience, or maybe if you had 2 years of law enforcement experience and 10 college credit hours, that puts you at 30, which that minimum requirement is 23. Or if you have military experience, so that's a big thing. So if you have 3 years of consecutive military, active, National Guard, Reserve, that's going to put you at 30 credit hours. So you have plenty to apply and actually get into the process. And then once you go through the academy, you're going to have more college credit hours as well. But So with that, it's full-time, can't be reserved, so it has to be full-time law enforcement. And then also it could be like, say, a federal law enforcement officer. So if you have any arresting powers and it's a full-time status, those will transfer to the that 10 per year up to 3 years, which give you 30. Or like I said, you can mix and match. So you have 13 college credit hours and then you have 2 years of law enforcement experience that qualify you for those credit hours you need.
Okay. What does the hiring process looks like? What if someone's interested in patrol? What's the first step that they take?
Well, the first one, they'll need to make a Workday account, which is a website that we use for them to submit all of their stuff for the application. So we'll have to create an account. And this is a very key and important part of that, creating an account through Workday. They will have to ensure that when they get prompted to, I can't remember if it's on the actual website or if it's email that's sent to them later, but it's going to ask them if they want to opt in to receive emails, essentially, for Workday. And that is a very big deal, because if you don't opt in, you won't get the follow-on emails and you won't know what the next steps are. So you absolutely have to opt in to the Workday emails and check your spam and junk and that kind of typical thing. So step one is submitting your application.
Okay. Where do we go after that? How does the process play out for an applicant?
Well, so then after they submit their application, HR, Human Resources Department will ensure that everything is up to standard. They meet all the minimum qualifications and they can proceed forward. If they're able to proceed forward after that, they will send them an email through Workday that they are able to move forward in the process and register for the posse exam. I don't remember what that acronym stands for. Do you remember what posse stands for?
Oh, it is police occupation scheme.
Yeah, so and how I usually describe it. Yeah,
Also, my math was wrong a while ago. I said 2 years and 13. So if you had 2 years and 3 college credit hours, his math was right.
A lot of alibis in this podcast.
yeah. But how I describe the posse is essentially it's just to make sure that you can, read, write, do a little bit of math at a normal, high school level. So some guys will ask about a study guide. If you go to our website where it talks about registering for the posse exam, there is information on there through them on how to, study guides and example questions and things of that nature. But they will take the posse exam. After they take the posse exam, which they can do it at their local tech school, usually technical college in their areas will offer them, or they can also do it proctored online as well, especially for those applicants that might be out of state. So after they do that, they will have their results emailed to our HR, and they should get that information of exactly which email to send it to within their prompts of to take the posse.
Police officer selection exam.
Or is the
Screening and selection exam.
Selection.
I knew it was something with police officer screening. Police officer screening and selection exam.
But not a difficult test. Something that people should maybe brush up on, long division, things like that.
Yes.
It's little math in there, a little bit of reading comprehension. I believe there's a little bit of science. It's very basic, general skills that if you're a high school graduate, you should have.
And where do we take that test at?
So so if you go onto our recruiting website, our webpage, that ok.gov, join OHP, there's actually a section in there where we'll tell you where the technology centers are that administer the exams.
Okay. So you don't take it online at your house. You got to go to a testing center to have this done.
You can. There is an online option. They'll proctor it online with a camera facing you, all that kind of thing. But I would probably say most applicants go to the in person.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do have the out of state or the military service member that's stationed in XYZ. They'll just do the online one until they can get here for the other part of the application process.
Kind of a rabbit trail here real quick. Where do we recruit guys from? Not just here in Oklahoma, but we recruit guys from all over, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've had quite a few applicants in this past 3 or 4 academies from all over the place: Michigan, Montana, Arkansas, and just anywhere. California,
Missouri has been pretty big.
Missouri,
yeah.
And so New York, Minneapolis, wherever.
What do you think's pulling people from outside the state here to Oklahoma?
It depends on the state, not to, throw shade at anybody specific, but let's say like New Mexico, for instance, a lot of their police agencies over there aren't as well paid as us, but I think the salary helps a little bit, but also even just like the economy and lifestyle, right? Our salary versus like how much a home cost in Oklahoma.
Cost of living's a big
Yeah, the cost of living is a big thing. And then, of course, we still got lakes and other attractive things that people want to come and be near.
Sure. And I feel like for our agency as well, too, is the backing that we have. We don't have, policies that are so strict that you're going to get, sued every time you get into a use of force or anytime you arrest somebody. So the policies and the administration that we have, I think, is a big draw as well, too. We're one that's going to, like our administration, they're going to back a trooper. Yeah. You're doing the right thing. You're applying law, specifically and adequately. You're not violating anybody's rights, or you're not immoral or unethical. They're going to have your back all day. So I think that's another big draw, especially if they're prior law enforcement from other agencies, because there's some states, and like Austin said, not to throw shade, but they really restrict and almost put their law enforcement officers in jeopardy with some of the regulations and policies that they have in place.
They can second guess themselves.
Absolutely.
Like that they're going to get by their department. Yeah. Okay, so we've gone through the hiring process. We've talked about the steps. Let's get into the physical test part. What is the physical test for an applicant?
2,000 meter row, and that's based off of based off of gender and weight. So pretty simple. I think the max for the row, like if you are 240 plus, you have to come in under 18, I believe is what it is. 8 minutes, 18
it's
seconds.
something in the 8 minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing too terribly tough. But someone needs to prepare for that. And if they don't row regularly, maybe get on a rower before they start taking this test.
Yes.
There's also a few videos technique-wise. Austin has that video that's up on our website as well, too, that kind of goes over some technique to actually complete the row in a decent way, not to gas yourself out, how to pace yourself and things like that.
Good. All right. So we've gone through the physical training tests, MMPI, which is the Minnesota Multifaceted Psychological. I can't remember I almost made it. I almost made it.
I don't ever remember that one either as well, but I do explain to people like that's kind of a lengthy test. I don't remember the number, 300, 500, however many questions there are, but they're very, very simple, and it's basically just to make sure that you're psychologically of sound mind, so nothing to stress or study for.
And we do those in the same day. So you've applied, you're qualified, you take the posse test, you've passed that, now you're moving on to the PT test, the fingerprinting, and the MNPI is all in one day, correct?
Yes.
So we're trying to streamline that for people where they're not having to make multiple trips up to the city.
Correct, especially for those out-of-state individuals.
I believe for out-of-state individuals, they even do the
Polygraph.
polygraph, yeah,
as well, too.
yeah, at the same time, so we can reduce that. Yeah. All right, so we're past that point. We've taken these 3 tests: MMPI, physical training. Where are we at now?
So if they're not out-of-staters, well, let me reverse. In there as well, they will also get an email to create a Guardian Alliance account. So they're going to have to make a few accounts in this, but when you get the email to create a Guardian Alliance account, you have 72 hours to create that account. Not to fill it out and submit all the information, because there are some very in-depth questions, and especially if you're somebody that was in the military or for whatever the reason you moved around a lot, right? You have to go back and get a whole lot of different addresses and maybe landlords if you rented and that kind of a thing. So just create the account in 72 hours is what you have.
If they don't create the account, what?
Yep. Then they're out of the process.
Cooked.
So,
Yeah.
yep.
All right. So what does the background investigation look like?
I've never actually done a background investigation. What I can definitely remember from mine, though, is they go, I felt like they did a pretty good deep dive in one, checking out my references, of course, my previous landlords and my previous bosses and supervisors, but also even on my social media as well. And I remember just, random people, and I don't know if the background investigator told them or not, but they definitely did it correct and in the moral way, in my opinion, is they waited until after the interview with my background investigator, and then they would message like, hey, I just talked to Trooper so-and-so and, had some questions for me, yada, yada, and that kind of a thing.
Oh, good. Why do we do such an in-depth background like that?
Liability, realistically. So you want to know that person, who they are, and making sure that they're, a sound person. You don't want to hire people that have, a huge liability or that may have a hidden background that you don't know. So that background investigators really doing their due diligence and making sure that there is anything that's a discrepancy, maybe a date and time of, everybody's had a life. So maybe you put, I smoked weed when I was 18, and then you go and interview some of the people that you put on there, and they're talking to him, and they're like, oh, he smokes weed every single day. So little things like that. And I'm not saying that's everybody, but they're looking for somebody that is competent, that has, really good, history, job history. You don't want to have somebody that's been fired 15 times, in the past 3 years. So making sure that you have a standard, and also, debt's a big thing that we've seen. So, and I'm not saying if you have, college debt, things like that, but you have a plan, and you have, everybody has some sort of debt for the most part, but making sure it's not, an astronomical amount where $100,000 in debt. They've been late on car payments. They've been late on their mortgage. They've been late on this, because realistically, that's a liability. The things that we do could put not only the citizens of the state in jeopardy, but also this agency in jeopardy as well. So
Yeah, that's really a maturity issue, and obviously we're looking for mature individuals.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think the background investigation brings up patterns as well, right? Whether it's financial pattern, criminal pattern, whatever the case may be. So I think they definitely look for those things. Like he was saying, it's not the end of the world if maybe you've gotten laid off from your job, so you got behind on some bills and you're playing catch up. Not an issue. Maybe you went through a divorce or anything like that. It's not the end of the world. But are you showing a pattern that you're on the right track to get it back to where it needs to be or get it fixed?
Yeah, and ultimately, when we do these backgrounds, we look at the whole picture. So the debt thing, the financial thing may be one part of the picture, but we're looking at the whole picture here. Who are you as a person? Who have you been your entire life? How have you progressed? How mature are you? So yeah, I have done the background investigation. I put a lot of work into them. They typically take a good solid week, and honestly, that's really rushing it. But it's talking to ex-girlfriends. It's talking to friends you had when you're in college, coworkers, not just talking to the references that you list on the background investigation. The background investigator will dig deeper. People you think that he may not talk to, he or she's probably going to call. Absolutely. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap up part one. We're going to have part two shortly following this. We'll see you in part two. Thank you.